So our company we did on was Pfizer. This was done by Priscilla, Kelly, Gavi, Christy, Nicole, and myself, Courtney. So what is Pfizer? Pfizer is one of the largest pharmaceutical companies in America that owns companies you may know of, such as Advil, Chapstick, Alessi, Viagra, Xanax, and Robitussin. It all started in 1849 when chemists Charles Pfizer and Earhart found a solution to a minor problem. The issue was that the heartworm medication had an awful taste, so the men took it upon themselves to create a new one with a more pleasant taste. Fast forward to 1862, during the Civil War, the New York-based company took the initiative to create remedies to help Union soldiers, such as tartaric acid and cream of tartar. With a company that continues to grow, in 1882, Pfizer became the highest producer of citric acid in the U.S. The company that has produce now in the homes of most Americans makes a promise to the people in 1899 for the century that they will work to keep the quality of Pfizer products great. In the year of the 20th century, Pfizer made many advances with penicillin, the first starting with the revolutionary change of using molasses instead of fermented cane sugar in penicillin in order to mass produce it. Then a brilliant scientist named Alexander Fleming found the antibiotic properties of penicillin, which changed the game for the rest of the century. Pfizer was so popular for penicillin that they supplied it for D-Day and got them the Army-Navy E Award in 1943. Now, Groton, Connecticut homes the largest building in the world dedicated to the discovery of new medications for human and animal health, owned by the one and only Pfizer. So the ethical concerns. So Pfizer has made itself one of the largest pharmaceutical companies in the world by purchasing their competitors. But although it's been amongst the largest, it also has come with many ethical concerns in many different areas. So product safety, human rights, advertising and marketing, controversies, worker safety, pricing, bribery and proper payments, labor, and environment. One of the largest product safety concerns that they dealt with was the defective heart valves that led to more than 100 deaths. After the investigation of this matter, information told us the company had misled regulators about the hazards. In 2004, they admitted to a 1999 clinical trial on the use of Celebrex, which greatly increased the risk for heart problems. In 2005, they withdrew a painkiller after the FDA announced a black box warning on the GI and cardiovascular side effects. And in 2009, a 14-page report of all the lawsuits was released, many involving hormone therapy, childhood vaccines, antidepressants, and the contraceptive Norplant, and the most severe, a diet drug known as fen-phen, which was linked to a possibly fatal heart valve disease. They also had many lawsuits dealing with the deadly side effects of medications, and they often were never advertised. Human rights concerns. So in 2000, Pfizer was accused of testing a dangerous new antibiotic called Trovan on children in Nigeria without proper consent. Pfizer was sued by 30 Nigerian families in 2001 by the U.S. federal court for using their children as human guinea pigs. So they've been working to overcome this lawsuit and promote better human rights. They have this statement on the website currently. It says, Pfizer also works to advance human rights by working to improve the health of people around the world through access to medicines and strengthening healthcare systems for underserved people. Pfizer was investigated in 2019 after the EpiPen was still being produced, even after complaints of misfiring in life or death situations. As we know, the EpiPens are used in life-threatening allergic reactions, so if it's not working properly, that is a huge issue. They've been producing the EpiPen for Mylan, which is another pharmaceutical company, and 2 years prior, the FDA conducted its inspection of the facility's manufacturing practices. It was discovered the facility had received 171 complaints about misfiring pens since the FDA's last visit. Pricing concerns. So in 1961, the Justice Department filed criminal antitrust against Pfizer due to conspiracizing fixed prices on tetracycline. In 2000, Pfizer had stated they would donate a 2-year supply of its 50 million AIDS drug to Flucan, the South African government, but pulled back their statement in 2003. They also had issues for charging excessive prices on an epilepsy drug, which the original price jumped to a 2,600% increase. Environmental issues. So the Environmental Protection Agency fined a drug maker $190,000 for failing to provide information about hazardous chemicals that were used at the plant. So not only were they using hazardous chemicals, but they never told anyone about them. These chemicals included ammonia and methylamine. Pfizer paid nearly $318,000 due to the violation of the Clean Air Act by failing to have proper air pollution controls to prevent leaks. So worker safety. So this is about Becky McLean. She was a former Pfizer scientist who claimed she was sickened by a genetically engineered virus at a company lab, and then she was fired for raising safety concerns. She said she's been fighting for nearly a decade, a condition that sends her into periodic bouts of paralysis. With neither of the U.S. Food and Drug Administration nor the Environmental Protection Agency regulating the creation of new life forms, the risk that this rapidly growing field poses to a worker safety, public health, social justice, and environment are poorly understood and effectively unregulated. So worker safety, so these are concerns regarding exposure to new chemicals and viruses. Protection for employees to speak up and obtain information about what they were exposed to is extremely important. Occupational Safety and Health Administration has a responsibility to update its regulations to meet the demands of today's science research. They need to put whistleblower laws into place to ensure safety problems are dealt with swiftly and efficiently. And fines for death related to safety violations need to be much higher. Off-label marketing. In 2009, the U.S. Department of Justice announced a settlement with Pfizer over an off-label marketing fraud. Pfizer had advertised multiple medications for purposes other than approved and known side effects. Their approved and known purposes. In addition to the false marketing, Pfizer was found to have paid doctors to prescribe medications for purposes other than the approved purposes. This was the largest pharmaceutical settlement to date, and they announced that Pfizer would pay a fine of $2.3 billion. Past advertising offenses. After the Second World War, Pfizer began marketing some of its product directly to hospital and doctors. They paid out $70,000 to settle charges with 10 states over false advertising for Plaque's mouth rinse. They also made false medical claims about their antidepressant Zoloft, which was ordered to stop by the FDA in 1996. Pfizer has also been made to pay many other settlements over the years. In 2003, Pfizer settled for $6 million with 19 states over its misleading advertising of Zithromax medication, claiming it could be used for ear infections. They also paid out $430 million over criminal and civil charges that the company had paid doctors to prescribe an epilepsy drug for purposes other than what was approved. So Pfizer is constantly dealing with settlements, so much so that this could have been a whole PowerPoint, but the biggest scandals mostly take place overseas. They tried to hide the fact that overseas subsidiaries made illegal payments by passing it off as legitimate business expenses for travel, entertainment, and marketing purposes. In 2012, to settle the allegations made by the federal government, Pfizer paid a settlement of $60.2 million for increasing foreign sales overseas by bribing doctors and healthcare professionals. The largest pharmaceutical company is no stranger to max tax avoidance. This is just a conclusion now. Pfizer is one of the largest pharmaceutical companies, but they have dealt with many ethical and legal concerns. So as you know, the bigger the company, the bigger problems they may have. The ethical concerns have been associated with product safety, human rights, environmental issues, pricing, worker safety, off-label marketing, past advertising offenses, and bribery concerns. They've continued to grow through its aggressive marketing despite the many ethical concerns discussed. On their website, there's a whole page on ethics and compliance where it explains Pfizer ensures high standards and best practices. There's also a link to Pfizer's compliance guidelines, which include elaboration on corporate compliance, code of conduct, and sales and marketing compliance. And then these are just the references that we listed, the websites we used, and then these are the credits, which you can read what each of us did. That's it.